Hello everyone, I hope you are all doing well today. In this video I want to talk about the current state of Granblue Fantasy Relink. By the time this video releases, it will have been over a month since the game released on both PC and PlayStation, and as a player that has spent over 300 hours in this game, I absolutely love it. I've been making videos about it pretty much daily since day one or even before then, but I do want to touch on some things that I do believe the game could be doing better and should improve, as well as a few concerns that I have about the future of this title. So let's start off by talking about the player base. Every single time I check the Steam charts, it's very good to see that the 24-hour peak is not too far off from the all-time peak player base, which means that the community is very active. Of course, we cannot track the player numbers for PlayStation, but we can assume that most of these players are likely going to be doing some AFK farming, while also trying to optimize their builds by looking for those perfect sigils. You know, the ones we're talking about, War Elemental and Supplementary Damage, for example, the very sought after sigils. And we can go into that topic right now. A lot of players are currently displeased with the endgame of Granblue Fantasy Relink, and I get where they're coming from. A lot of these powerful sigils have no reliable way for you to farm them. It would be ideal if, for example, you would have a 1 to 5% chance of getting a War Elemental sigil from doing the Piet A quest, which I think would also be appropriate given that that boss changes element a lot, and by just having that smaller chance of being able to get that specific sigil that you want, players would be able to target the loot they desire, so they would have a lot more agency, and I think it just would end up feeling a lot more rewarding. Currently, for the most part, you're going to see people doing some AFK farming, or trying to speedrun Proto-Bahamut as much as possible to be able to farm the Terminus weapons, which in order to upgrade those, players will also be doing a lot of AFK farming. I personally don't mind the Terminus weapon grind a whole lot, because I try to play with pretty much every character in the game and I was trying to get all of the Terminus weapons. But if you are someone that likes to play with only one or two specific characters, you don't tend to deviate too much and you're trying to specifically target that drop, and you happen to unlock the rest of the other characters, the chances of you getting the weapon for the character you want are going to be very low. I believe the numbers are about a 10% drop chance each time you do the quest, and then you have to factor in that it will be 1 out of 19 characters available, so let's just say that the odds aren't in your favor, so having some agency there would be nice. However, this can all change with the Lucilius update, as this level 200 raid may just become the thing we need to farm to get the best weapons in the game. And if we have to spend a ton of materials to be able to upgrade them to the fullest, I'm a bit worried that players are going to be burned out with the material costs, especially if there is heavy RNG associated with this, just like it is with Proto-Bahamut. In my opinion, the ideal solution for both Proto-Bahamut and the likely Dark Opus weapons from Lucilius would be to give you a specific material that is guaranteed at the end of each quest completion. And after finishing that quest, let's say 10 times, you would be able to trade in 10 of those materials and you would be able to pick whichever weapon you would want to receive. A lot of players tend to think that systems like this are going to end up to players skipping out on the content and not playing as much, but this is the exact same system that Final Fantasy XIV does and a lot of other big online games as well, so I don't see any issues in having a little bit of control to act as a bad luck protection system, and I can see the opposite effect where players that would only do it once or twice to get the weapon for their favorite character would go out of their way to get out the entire party, because they would have a way to ensure that those characters would be equipped with the desired weapons. We've talked a lot about RNG, and of course a big thing in Granblue Fantasy Relink is trading in materials and sigils for knick-knack vouchers to be able to receive even more sigils, and that entire system takes a very long time to do, especially if you have a surplus of tickets already available, and so I think a very good addition would be to simply add a way for us to select multiple tickets at once to be redeemed, so that we don't have to spend hours upon hours on this system, just wasting time because the game is not efficient. And speaking of sigils, I think that it is very appropriate that we talk about damage cap. I believe that the way damage cap is currently implemented into the game is honestly very bad, as you will always want to max out your damage cap on pretty much every single build, at which point, unless you are very lucky, you will be taking up at least 4 of your sigil slots just to be able to hit the damage cap threshold. I don't mind the idea of having a damage cap in the game, and with how some characters are built, where for example Charlotta needs a lot of raw attack to be able to hit the damage cap on her combo finishers, but other characters like Ghandagoza for example can hit the damage cap much more easily. So I think that the ideal situation would be for the developers to just reduce the overall max level for damage cap, which is currently at 65, and maybe push it down to something a little less egregious like level 30, while still retaining the same benefits. That way we would not be forced into spending all of those slots to be able to fit in damage cap, and we would be able to have much more build diversity, which is severely lacking in Granblue Fantasy Relink, as for the most part, when looking at optimal builds for characters, going with 1 stamina and 2 tyranny sigils is often enough to hit the damage cap. Now there are some other smaller things that I would like to discuss, that I think should be fixed or at the very least addressed, such as for example the ability to move while you are matchmaking, because you have these large towns, these beautiful hubs that you can traverse with your friends. I love the way that they are designed, that they are so massive, and it's something that I hope to see in Monster Hunter Wilds, and being able to roam those cities with your friends is always fun. But sadly you cannot do it while you are matchmaking, you kinda just have to sit there and wait, which doesn't feel very nice, so a small change like that would be appreciated. Additionally, I do believe that we still need a lot of camera fixes. I've had a lot of times in Granblue Fantasy Relink where I miss an attack that would have connected because the camera snaps, or I get hit by an attack that would have missed me because again the camera snapped to a different direction, and because my character was forced to face that way, I ended up getting hit. It just doesn't feel very good, so I hope the developers can manage to make it a little bit better. And now this one is going to be somewhat controversial, but I would like to see a lot of the bug tech and skill cancel that we see currently being used by a lot of characters to get the most damage output. I would like to see a lot of it removed from the game. Maybe not all of these cancels, like for example the Charlotta cancel where you actually need to consume the skill to be able to go into her lunges to deal more damage. I think that is fine, but for example the Percival skill cancel, I do feel like it is a little too broken. Not consuming your skill cooldown but still getting the benefit from the skill. It feels very gamey and like you're breaking the system, and I'm usually not very fond of that. And of course, I think that the aerial Rackam shotgun playstyle should be nerfed, as it feels like a massive oversight when this character is capable of dealing 80 million damage in the 60-second test, when most characters cannot even reach 40 million. Again, this is likely going to be a controversial take, so I want to hear from you guys, what do you think should be done about those bugs and tech cancels? Now for this next part of the video, I do want to talk about the future of my content with Granblue Fantasy Relink. I've been doing pretty much daily uploads with this game, I've done guides on almost all of the characters, and I do plan on making guides for Sofon and Toyen, as well as the Lucilius raid of course, but with all of these videos that I have been doing, I'll be honest, I'm a little bit strapped for time. As a lot of you already know, Dragon's Dogma 2 is just around the corner and I want to focus heavily on that game and make a ton of videos for it because Dragon's Dogma 1 is one of my favorite games of all time, and I expect the sequel to be a huge success, so now that we are in the month of March, I do want to start making Dragon's Dogma videos. Additionally, before I started making Granblue Fantasy Relink videos, I was making a lot of Monster Hunter World videos, and there are a lot of videos that I still would like to do, such as a build progression guide for all the weapons, or even just taking down Fatalis himself because I never had the chance to do it before, I haven't even had my first try, and I had a live stream where I was even preparing to fight him, but I never got around to doing it, so I want to go back to World and actually finish what I started, where you guys would be able to see my first reaction to Fatalis and watch me struggle as I try to kill it for the first time. And of course, all of this is going to take a lot of time, and I don't talk a lot about my personal life, but this is not my job currently, even though that is what you may think considering the amount of videos I have been releasing. I am striving to make it my main source of income, but I also have some other things going on, and so I would like to ask you for your opinion on this. Most of the characters that I have yet to cover in a build guide video have already been covered by guide makers that I respect a lot. I'm talking about Rurikan, Enel, Leaflet, and Maigi. I hope I'm not pronouncing her name wrong. Their guides are absolutely fantastic, and with me being short on time with so many videos that I do want to make, I feel like I'm kind of spreading myself too thin, and I really don't want to get myself burnt out on a game that I love so much. And so I would rather send you guys in the direction of these 4 content creators that again I respect a lot, and in the meantime I'll be making those other videos that I do want to make, and when we get news about the Lucilius raid or Sofon and Twayan, and when those updates are released, I'll be jumping back into the game, live streaming the whole thing, and making videos for you. It's actually the reason why I haven't made as many streams as I would like to. It's because I just don't have enough time to be able to stream as much as I want to, and I just don't want to occasionally turn on stream for a couple of hours and have to turn off right away, because I need to finish off work or I need to go back to editing videos. So again, do let me know how you guys feel about all of this. Although I do want to go back and finish my Charlotta guide, because I do think that it's actually turning out pretty good. I do want to finish off by saying a huge thank you to everybody that has just found my channel through Granblue Fantasy Relink. I'm finally branching outside the Monster Hunter niche, and seeing so many supportive comments with each video really means a lot to me. So truly, thank you so much for watching my videos, and I just hope that I can keep on making content that you will enjoy. With that being said, my name is Dark Hero, thank you all so much for watching, and as always, happy hunting!